Hey, what's up? We're back again for another week of predictions, and this week it's going to be UFC 220. Really looking forward to this card. One of the best heavyweight fights of all time, in my opinion. I'm really looking forward to it, but we're going to get right into it. And the first fight of the night is actually a pretty high-profile fight. I'm kind of surprised that it's this low on the card, but it's the return of Gleison Tibau, and he's actually fighting against Islam Makhachev. And he's coming off of a USADA layoff, so he hasn't fought in about 2.5 years. And although it seems like Tebow's been fighting for forever, he's still only 34, so he still has a lot of room to grow, and his career is still younger, not super young, but he's a bruising grappler. He has solid power in his hands and great takedown defense. He defended 92% of his takedowns when he fought Khabib, which is very similar matchup here because Islam and Khabib are kind of like Islam's like the baby Khabib a little bit. And he defended every single one of Khabib's takedown attempts in their fight. And he actually, when you go back and watch that fight, it was, a very, very controversial decision, And also on MMA decisions, I think only one person or two people have Khabib winning. Everyone else had Gleison winning, and I thought he won that fight as well. But that was a long time ago, and Khabib was young in his career. I think Islam's actually a better striker than Khabib was at that point. And maybe he's still a better striker. I actually do think so. I actually think Islam maybe is a better on-the-feet striker than Khabib is. But back to Gleison, and he has good power in his right hand, but he's flat-footed. He's not the greatest striker, one-dimensional. Wait for you to come in, land the counter punch. But really where his bread and butter is his takedowns, man, and he's strong in the clinch. But Makhachev has 100% takedown defense, and he takes down his opponents 86% of the time, too. So, Tebow's going to be tested in that department in terms of getting taken down, in terms of attempting takedowns. It's going to be hard for him to get them. So, I'm just leaning Makhachev in this fight. Tebow's fought 26 times in the UFC now. This is going to be 27. And he was on a 2-fight streak. He did beat Abel Trujillo, but they actually changed that to a DQ. I've never seen that before, but they changed it to a DQ when he tested positive and gave the win to Trujillo. But he did have it was kind of a bad stoppage on a choke in that fight where the ref thought he was out, but he wasn't. But Makhachev is the prototypical Dagestani wrestler, a workhorse, gets in the clinch, trip takedown, solid on top, good ground and pound, big pressure, and he actually has some solid kicks, head kicks, body kicks, front kicks to the body, good punches, good power in his hands too, great cardio. Adriano Martins put him to sleep with the one punch, but Gleison isn't quite the explosive athlete of Martins, in my opinion, in terms of he has the power, but he's just not, with the speed and explosiveness. And I think he'll be the cleaner striker on the feet, actually, as well. I think early on, he's going to probably try to maybe keep it on the feet, maybe see how Tebow's going to want to come at him, if Tebow's going to want to try to use grappling-based attack, or what he looks like after 2 years off, man. Because Tebow was one of those guys that was just fucking huge, a big guy. Always wondered about him with USADA, and then when it came in, he got caught. You really got to wonder what he looks like now. And I've been trying to find pictures of the dude. I've been looking at his Twitter, Instagram, hasn't posted in 3 years. Can't find what he looks like. So, this is my most confident pick of the night, and it's going to be Islam Makhachev. And I actually think he's going to win by decision. I could see a finish here, but Gleison is a tough guy. He's a veteran. And but like I said, with the USADA layoff, and the fact that Islam's actually a little bit cleaner striker, I think, and the grappling is pretty close, but I wouldn't think that Gleison will be able to dominate him there enough to, enough to sway the judges, and I don't think he's going to have the same amount of cardio as Islam, and I think as the fight goes on, Islam will even have the advantage in the grappling as well, if he doesn't have it right away, And so because of that, like I said, I'm going to go with Islam Makhachev by decision in that one. And that is probably my most confident pick of the night. And then up next we have Marina Moro and Jamie Moyle. And Moros actually had a decent performance even though she lost in her last fight against Carla Esparza. She made the move to the United States, started training at Valley Flow. And, she actually has some pretty pretty good takedown defense where she was able to frame. She showed strength where she was stopping a lot of Carla Esparza's takedowns. And Carla Esparza, I think, is someone that's going to come in with more refined, better wrestling than Jamie Moyle. And I actually think she has better striking than Jamie Moyle does as well. So I think this is going to be basically the same type of matchup where Jamie Moyle is going to be trying to get the takedowns, maybe boxing her up, trying to get in a close distance, make it an ugly fight. And Marina's going to be trying to keep it on the outside, use her distance, and land those shots, keep her at the end of her punches. And Marina's actually gotten a little bit better at, getting that distance. She used to be a person that would, throw at the air a lot, leave a lot of strikes, just throwing them for no reason type thing. And now she's actually landing on the end of her punches. She has some pretty, decent pop in her punches, catches you at the end of them. And she keeps good distance, man. That's the way she beat Danielle Taylor. She has some pretty decent wins. She's beat Joanne Calderwood as well, too. And Christina Stanciu. And I just think she's going to be a little bit too much for Jamie Moyle. She's going to be able to keep the distance, keep it on the feet. If Jamie Moyle does win here, she'll be able to take her down, control her, which is possible, but I think Marina actually has a pretty good guard as well. She's caught a lot of arm bars in her career. Actually, that's one of her main ways of victory. And due to that, I'm going to go with Marina. I think she's going to have the reach, she's going to have the length, and she's going to be able to win a comfortable decision here, but it's not one that I'm super confident on, but I would say that I'm confident that it'll go over 2.5 rounds. So that might be something to look into, but like I said, I'm going to go with Marina Moro in this one by decision. And then up next, we have a late replacement, Matt Bessette, coming in to fight Enrique Barzola. And Bessette actually is a pretty good finisher. He's very aggressive. I've seen him in CES MMA come in, has some pretty good TKOs. He TKO'd Ray Trujillo. He has some pretty good submissions too. Looks pretty good on top. Looks pretty good off of his back. Overall, he looks like a solid prospect, but he has been knocked out cold. He got knocked out cold in his last fight against Kurt Holloway. And that wasn't too long ago, man. That was only about 6 months ago. And what happened was Holloway ended up tested positive, so it became a no contest. But he was knocked out cold in that fight. And Enrique Barzola is a guy who I'm a big fan of, man. He actually looks really good, to be honest. I think he should be 4-0 in the UFC. His fight against Kyle Bochniak was a bit of a robbery, if you ask me. And he just has an incredible pace, incredible pressure, pushes through, man. You could tell that he maybe gets a little bit tired, maybe he's wearing down just a bit, but doesn't show it, man. Comes forward, will continue to walk through punches, walk through body kicks, great takedowns, and he's really improved his striking. Now he has some good kicks. He'll even attack with some pretty wild techniques, such as spinning kicks, things like that. And overall, though, I think that he's going to use his wrestling here in reverse, keep it on the feet, and just really be able to box up Matt Bessette. I think that Bessette is not on the level of Enrique Barzola. This is another one of my most confident picks here. And I think El Fuerte is going to be able to keep it going. I think he's going to win another one. He just beat Gabriel Benitez in his last fight, who's a ranked fighter. So it just shows how how solid he is. And he actually does have a KO of Cesar Azamendia as well. And if you count tough, his record in the UFC is 6-1, or 5-1. So that's a very impressive record. And like I said, the one loss is very suspect loss to Kyle Bochniak. So really, you could see a guy being 4-0 and 6-0 overall, including tough in the UFC. And I think he's going to push it to 7, man. I think he's, someone to really look into. And I'm really disappointed that he didn't get the fight against Arnold Allen, man. That would have been a great fight. And, disappointed about that. But I think he's going to get the job done here. And I actually think he's going to win either a late round finish or a decision here as well. But I'm going to go with Enrique Barzola. And then up next, we have two Dana White Contender Series guys, Dan Ige versus Julio Arce. And both these guys are pretty impressive. Julio started a little bit slow, but then he started really piecing up his opponent. He showed some really fluid striking, some really good combinations, and good distance control. He was able to keep his opponent at the end of his shots, and really started piecing him up. He fights at Tiger Schulman as well. So, those guys at Tiger Schulman always are good strikers. And, he shows some crisp striking, especially when he's moving backwards. lands some nice kicks to the body, goes to the body with punches, fast combination, good accuracy as well. And when he gets you against the cage, he'll unload with big shots. He does a good job cutting off the cage. Good power. He'll wilt you with volume more than one punch, though, really. Good cardio as well, but he struggles with guys that can get a hold of him and grind him against the cage and take him down. He lost twice to someone who I think is pretty similar to Dan Ige and Brian Kelleher. And I think Ige is going to bring the exact same game plan. I think Ige is a well-rounded guy, good boxing, good takedowns, and I think Ige will be able to use his boxing to get inside, grapple, take down Arce, control Arce against the cage, make him work. Just wear him out, make it a hard-fought contest, and I see Ige just being a little better, a little more well-rounded. I think he's the one that's going to push the pace. I think that he's the one that's going to have the more volume in this matchup, and that's why I'm going to go with Dan Ige. And I'm actually going to say maybe this is going to be a very close fight, maybe a split decision, maybe 2-1 for Ige. But I'm going to say Ige, edges it out with his wrestling and his pressure, and his overall more volume than Julio Arce. And up next, we have a really interesting fight. Two guys in the featherweight or in the flyweight division that are pretty good prospects. Dustin Ortiz, not prospects. Alejandro Pantoja is a prospect, but Dustin Ortiz has been in the UFC for a long time now. He's a guy that kind of alternates wins and losses, but he's really started to show some improved striking as of late. He had the fastest knockout in flyweight history in his last fight against Hector Sandoval. Showed some improved striking against Brandon Moreno as well before he was clipped and taken out. When he fought against Zach Bukowski, that was another great performance. Out-scrambled a guy that was a favorite against him, someone that, is a great scrambler as well, great wrestler, and he just out-wrestled him, out-muscled him. And Pantoja's a guy that is a great, pretty good striker, no Yao style striker. That's where he started. Now he's over at King's MMA a little bit, I heard, and he has some pretty good striking, good leg kicks, good angles, good distance control, and he could really piece you up with combinations if you stand right in front of him. But I think Dustin Ortiz is a guy that's going to be putting that pressure on him, man. I think Ortiz is going to really show a similar game plan to that of Eric Shelton early, except he's not going to get tired, man. Dustin Ortiz is a guy that his motto is stay chopping, and he's always working, man, always in phenomenal shape. And I think that he's going to put the grind on Pantoja, man. I think that he's going to be very similar to Pantoja's fight against Hero in the house, where he was taken down. Maybe he wins some stand-up exchanges, makes it an interesting fight. But I think Pantoja's a guy that fights close, and I think he's a guy that could get grinded out here by Dustin Ortiz. And due to that, I took Dustin Ortiz, man. I think that he's going to come in here, and I think he's going to win a decision in an upset. I think Pantoja is very good, but I think that he has a deficiency in his wrestling and his takedown defense. He's good off of his back. He could put Ortiz in some positions maybe that he doesn't like, but I think overall, Dustin Ortiz, he's seen it all, man. Great scrambler, been in the UFC, fought the who's who, fought guys like Joseph Benavidez, and I think that he's going to come in. I think he's going to really relish the opportunity to once again fight another guy in the top 10, and he's going to win it. I think he's going to continue forward, and I think he's going to, put on a pretty good run here in his UFC career. So I'm going to go with Dustin Ortiz by decision in that one. And up next, we have a rematch with Abdul Razak Alhassan fighting Sabah Hamasi. And I'm not really going to get too much into this fight. I've already broke it down. I actually ended up writing it for 219 as well, but then they took it off of 219. So I basically broke this card down 3 times now. And Abdul Razak Alhassan, I think, is just going to have a little bit more firepower and have a little bit better chin than Sabah Hamasi. You started to tell that in their first fight, Sabah Hamasi was clipping him at first because Abdul was coming in very wild, very wide with the shots, like he always does, and Sabah was able to catch up with that right hand, catch up with some straight shots, but you could tell that Abdul was rocked, he was hurt, but he was able to recover fairly quickly, walk through his shots, and then Sabah was the one that was on the ropes near the end of the fight when the bad stoppage happened. And I just think that's what's going to happen again, man. I think Abdul Razak actually has better cardio as well. You saw that in his fight against Omari Akhmedov. He really pushed hard in that fight, and in the third round, he was the one that was really coming on strong, really put it to Omari, and Omari's a guy at 185 now, so he's a big guy, and used a lot of wrestling in that fight, and Razak was able to, withstand in the third round. Like I said, I had a great round in that round, and I think he's going to take Sabah out in the first round. I think he'll take him out early, TKO. I'm going to go with Abdul Razak Alhassan. And up next, you have a really fun fight with Kyle Bochniak versus Brandon Davis. And Brandon Davis is another guy that fought on the Dana White Contender Series, and I really enjoyed his fight, man. He's a Alan Belcher guy, and everyone knows about those guys in Mississippi, man. They bring it. They come to fight. They're mean. Him, Alan Belcher, Jason Knight, they really have a wild, fan-friendly style. And, Brandon Davis is no different. A good Muay Thai striker, and he was unloading with some volume, man. I was really shocked to see some of these long combinations, man. He was throwing 7, 8 punch combinations, great head movement, slipping punches, straight punches as well. He's a really good counter puncher. Step to the side, throw nice elbows and knees. Is really truly incredible output, man. I'm gonna say that again, because it really was a great cardio. You have to have great cardio to have that kind of output. He'll throw a kick to the body as well, throw nice leg kicks. He does some tricky things, switch steps to low kicks, he'll point one direction, land with the other hand, spinning elbows, spinning back kicks. And he trained with Alan Belcher, who's a terrific grappler, so I have to think that, I haven't seen him grapple much. He did get out of a deep guillotine choke at that fight, and I think he's someone that you have to put to sleep to, beat in situations to really get him good in a submission lock. And, from your guard, man, he was laying some hard elbows. He has a good chin, he eats punches, and he'll talk shit to you right in the pocket, Last fight, he fought Austin Arnett, who's, a pretty solid prospect. He was on a 13-fight win streak, and Davis was a plus 200 dog, and he beat him, man, and he looked like he was a pretty high-level striker, and Kyle Bochniak is also a striker, but he's more a prototypical boxer, but he does have a nice leg kick. Big power in his right hand. He puts pressure on his opponents, but he doesn't throw as much as I would like, man. He's a little inactive, but he does beat up that lead leg. And he also does get his own leg beat up a little bit, though. You could tell against Enrique Barzola he was getting kicked a little bit, and he didn't like it. But off of his back, he doesn't have much. He seemed pretty green as a jiu-jitsu player, and when he was on top against who was that he was fighting? I think it was Charles Rosa, maybe, and he was just jumping out of his guard even when he was in top position. He was not comfortable at all there. And against Jeremy Kennedy, he was taken down at will. But he is someone that I think is tough. He'll walk through strikes to land his own. He's a little wild coming forward. He'll run at times, and that makes him susceptible to counters and getting taken down. And he does have some solid cardio. He'll push through. Against Charles Rosa, he fought on 4 days' notice, made it a very fun fight, so I think Davis is going to be the one, though, that's going to be keeping the pressure. He's going to make Bochniak move backwards, and Bochniak is not good at moving backwards at striking, man. I think he's going to be putting a lot of strikes on Bochniak, and I think he's going to be putting on a clinic, and I think Bochniak's going to try to wrestle here, but I think it's only going to get him tired, man, and I think Brandon Davis actually going to end up getting a late finish, 3rd round TKO, and I'm going to go with Brandon Davis, and the newcomer's going to get it done right there, and up next, we have the first fight on the main card, and this is an incredible fight, man. Thomas Almeida against Rob Font, 2 of the best strikers in that division. And, Thomas Almeida is a guy that's all action all the time, man. Everyone knows that he had, that huge run of finishes before he made it to the UFC. And no different in the UFC, man. Absolute beast of a striker, man. He has 4 TKOs in the UFC as well. And, he's much more action all the time, while Font is more deliberate on the outside, trying to hit, not get hit. Almeida's a beast on the inside. Great elbows. Pinpoint strikes with his hand, man. His left hand is a piston. Great accuracy. He'll attack with long combinations from all angles. He'll switch it up, using body kicks, leg kicks. He'll use great elbows, like I said. He really is just a phenomenal striker, man. And he doesn't get tired either. He does a great job of exploding with combinations, like when he stands up or after the clinch, he'll attack right away, catch you sleeping with a big combination. And he has great takedown defense and high-level get-ups, man. When Jimmy Rivera was taking him down, he could not hold him down at all, man. And I just think that the one problem with him is he does have a bit of a problem with his chin. He was dropped 3 times by Rivera. Garbrandt KO'd him. Dropped by Brad Pickett. And that's something to look into, but he also is really great at recovering, and that shows that he has a great chin, great heart. And, unless you put him out, I think he's going to continue to come back and be a force, man, just like he was against Jimmy Rivera. But Rob Font's, a long technical striker, great jab. He uses that jab to set up his right hand. Also has a nice front kick to the face. He stunned Matt Schnell with that. But he has beat some questionable competition in the UFC. Almeida's definitely been in there with the more solid guys, although Font has been in there with John Lineker. But Rob Font fights more at a deliberate pace. He only starts to throw multiple shots, combinations when he sees openings. He doesn't put himself out there to be countered. And his combinations at times are really awesome, though. He'll land to the body and head. Great timing on his knees. He's well rounding out his skills. He usually goes for takedowns about a minute or two into the first round. And he has a good guillotine. He guillotine on draws, but I just think Almeida's going to be faster, the guy with more output. And I think that Font works much better moving forward than backwards, man. He seems to struggle when he faces guys that can push him back. And I don't think he likes pressure. Against Pedro Munoz, he was getting hit with overhand hooks. And, Pedro was able to rock him and then get a guillotine on him. And that all came from the forward pressure, man. And I think that Almeida is going to be able to use that same type of game plan that Lineker and Pedro Munoz have showed, and just use forward pressure, stay in his face, just use that dynamic striking. I think Almeida's going to get a TKO in round 2. I think it's going to be a really fun fight, but I think Almeida's just going to outclass Rob Font a little bit, out-athletic him, and I think Almeida's going to get it done here. And up next, I guess they're going to make us suffer through this shit, man, but on the main card, they have John Volante versus Francis Barzola, which is just very shocking, man. But everyone knows what John Volante brings. He comes in the first round, and he's a big guy. He has real big power, and he actually has some really nice leg kicks, some really decent striking for the first couple minutes of the fight. He'll come in, he'll look really good, where he will look very dangerous. Sharp jab, heavy leg kick, right hook off of his jab. He'll look like he's setting things up very well. A good overhand right. Slides out of the way of his opponent's shots. Lands his own. You could just tell he's a strong, fast, athletic guy out there. And when he hurts you, he'll go for the finish. And that's when he gasses out, man. He goes for the finish a lot. And he's just not the greatest finisher. Doesn't have the best IQ when it comes to going for the finishes. And if he doesn't get the finish, he gasses out, man. But he has some solid body and head kicks. He has a decent chin. He walks through your shots, but his chin has been getting worse and worse recently. And he doesn't move his head off the center line. He can be countered with shots. He does have a solid uppercut, but he does a lot of times throw overhand rights. A lot of times, no setup, making it really predictable. And good takedown defense. Shucks off the clinch well, too. And he actually has some good takedowns himself, but he never goes for them. His coaches say he has good jiu-jitsu, but we've never seen it either in the UFC. He prefers to just brawl, and he has that happy-go-lucky attitude where it's like he's either going to get knocked out or knock someone out. He's not going to come in with a game plan, So it's really hard to put your money on a guy like that, and he gasses out so bad. After the first round, man, like Pat Cummins was beating him in a striking battle, and that's just embarrassing, man. One of the worst strikers in the UFC is just outstriking you for 2 rounds. But he's fighting another guy that's just not very good at Francis Barzola. That guy's been able to stay in the UFC for 9 fights, which is pretty crazy to me with his type of style. Very obvious overhand right that he's just always trying to land on the feet. That's really all he has on the feet. And it makes him so predictable because he puts everything to that punch, flat-footed, stands right in front of you. And, it makes it easy for him to get hit, and his legs get chewed up. He's inactive besides looking for that overhand right, and then he uses that overhand right to dive in for takedowns. And he has a black belt, but on top he doesn't really work, just stays in your guard, holding top position. And he has poor cardio as well, man. He gasses hard after round 2. He doesn't have the greatest takedowns. He's not like a Pat Cummins. He's not a NCAA wrestler. And this is a huge step down for Volante. And this is a step up for Barroso. And Barroso's 37 years old, and with his basic style, I see Volante really beating up those legs, jabbing him up, and getting the overhand right and getting the win in the first round. I'm gonna say Volante gets the TKO, but this is a fight that after that first round, if Volante can't finish him and it looks tired, man, I would not be surprised to see Barroso come in and take the last 2 rounds. But like I said, Barroso also gets tired as well, so that's just a shit show, man. But I'm gonna go John Volante first round TKO. I think he's gonna be a little too athletic, a little too big for the guy. And up next we have a pretty good fight in Shane Burgos against Calvin Kattar. Or Calvin Kattar. And, these are 2 pretty high-level guys on the outside of the top 15, maybe looking to crack the top 15 with the win here. And Calvin Kattar is a boxer, solid low kicks, works behind his jab, and he switches stances, cuts you off, and lands nice hooks, straight punch combinations. Good inside leg kick to right hook. And, he has a heavier shot with his right hook, but he doesn't seem to have huge knockout power. He's won 7 straight decisions. And, out of only 9 wins, he's won 7 decisions. And, he's been fighting since 2007. And, he just broke it in the UFC, so he's a longtime veteran. His win over Andre Fili was, pretty impressive. Fili's a, top 25, top 20 type guy. And, but he's had some long layoffs in his career, man. He only fought 1 time in 2012, 1 time in 2013, and then he sat out for 3 years. Came back in 2016, and then 2017 he only fought 1 time too. But I know this is the first full training camp of his career, so he's going to be dedicated more than ever. I think it's going to be the best version of him. His cardio's never been an issue, and I expect it to come out his best. He doesn't throw much other than hands and leg kicks. He doesn't really go for takedowns or submissions, but he does do a nice job of stealing the rounds at the end. That's what he did a very good job of against Andre Fili. But then you have Shane Burgos, who's just, I think he's going to be much faster. He's going to be the more dynamic striker. He throws very accurate combinations, stiff jab, good head movement. He tries to bait you to try to hit him, come back over the top with his overhand right. Heavy power on his overhand right. Walks forward, puts heavy pressure on all of his opponents. All of his opponents looked very uncomfortable with the pressure that he was putting on them. Good chin, walks through their shots, and showed improved defense in the last fight, though, actually. He was more drawn into a brawl in round 3, but in round 1 and 2, he had his hands up more. That's been some of his problems, keeping his hands down a little too much. But he fights with a swagger, good takedown defense, and, good head movement and counters, nice kicks, good distance control, man. He has the ability to see your shots coming in. Heavy on his front leg, though. Charles Rosa really chewed it up. But he does have good takedown defense. He doesn't get drawn into grappling at all, against Godofredo Pepe. He was just pushing him down, telling him to get up, just not engaging at all in the grappling, which is something that you like to see because he knows his strong points. And I think he's much more of a finisher in this matchup. And I think Calvin Kattar could beat a lot of guys, but I just don't think this could be his night, man. I don't think he has the power to stop that forward pressure of Burgos. And although Burgos does have his hands down, and I think that Kattar may be able to hit him with a few jabs, some overhand rights, I think Burgos is going to be able to overcome that, just walk through it. And I think he's going to have some big power combinations, and I think that he's going to win by TKO in round 3. I think he's going to continue the late round finishes, and I'm going to go with Shane Burgos. And I think Shane Burgos is a guy to keep your eye on. If he fixes some things up, he really could be a solid prospect. And here we go, moving on to the 2 fights that everyone cares about here. And the first one's Volkan Ozdemir against Daniel Cormier. And at first, man, I was really thinking before I watched the tape, hey, maybe I should take a stab on Volkan here. Daniel just got knocked out. It was only about 6 months ago. It was a brutal knockout. Where's his head here? He just lost to John Jones for the second time. That's his arch nemesis. Does he really want to continue to do this, hold the belt, stay at the top? But, I was looking at Volkan's fight against OSP, man, and in that first round, he once again came out very strong, was throwing a lot of high kicks, trying to keep OSP stuck against the cage, which everyone knows OSP really struggles with. and, really put some pressure on him, landed some big shots, some big left and right hands, good hooks. But, he was able to be controlled against the cage, and I actually thought he lost that fight. I thought in that third round he was really tired, and he definitely lost the third round. OSP was teeing off on him in that third round. He showed a good chin. But I just think that he's just much lower level than DC, man. I watched this fight against Kelly Odmondson, and Odmondson was able to take him down at will, man. And then he ended up just gassing out, took his back, and submitted him. And I just think that's what's going to happen in this fight. I think DC is a guy that, fought at heavyweight. He's fought guys that hit hard, Volkan has that rap right now where, well, it's warranted. He KO'd Jimmy Manawa in the clinch, with the short hook, which shows extreme power. His KO against Misha Cirkutov was, I don't know, man. That seemed like, I don't want to say fluky, but it just was like a very odd punch, very odd punch. Hit him right in the right spot and finished him. And Manawa, he was able to really follow up viciously, push him down, drop him, and then get the finish here. And so he's definitely someone that I think is, if he has you hurt, he goes for the finish very hard. But don't fool yourself here, man. I think AJ is just, people are saying like he's the version of AJ or something. I think AJ would knock him the fuck out, man. I don't think Volkan is AJ whatsoever. I think AJ is the much better striker, much more athletic. And, DC was able to handle AJ pretty easily. He's beaten guys that are phenomenal strikers. Alexander Gustafsson, Anderson Silva, beating some of the heaviest hitters of the sport. Bigfoot in his prime, Josh Barnett, Soa Palele, Frank Mir, Roy Nelson, Dan Henderson, dominated these guys. He's one of the best of all time, If it weren't for John Jones, I think we'd be saying that DC's the best of all time. And the only reason why I think people are even giving this fight even a second look is due to the fact that DC just got knocked out 6 months ago. I think if DC did not get knocked out 6 months ago, this line would be, much bigger, much, much bigger. So I think that it definitely gives you cause to pause that DC did get viciously KO'd. You really want to see, what he looks like early. And I think if Volkan can't get it done in the first 3 minutes, 30 seconds, I think it's over, man. I think DC's going to start to put the grind, get him against that cage, take his ass down, and take his back and submit him. And I don't know if that's going to happen in the first round or the second round, but I think, like I said, if Volkan can't get it done early, I think by the middle of that first round, DC's going to have him on his back, and he's going to be beating on him. He's going to be wearing him out. And I think by the start of that second round, Volkan's going to try, just like AJ did in that first fight, come in explosive. AJ landed that head kick. Maybe he'll try to land a big shot again, and he's going to get planted again. And the second time he gets taken down, I just don't know how much he's going to have left in him, man. I think Volkan's going to get his back taken. I think he's going to get submitted, and I think DC is going to really, re-cement himself at the top of this division. It seems like people really have, something against DC where they just don't think he's good enough to hold the belt, or I don't know, man. It seems like he consistently gets overlooked. People thought that Gustafsson was going to beat him. People thought that AJ was going to beat him both times. He really does not get that high level respect. Maybe it's because of his size, the way that he looks, but I'm going to go with DC once again here. I know he's 38. I know the intangibles, the run that Volkan's on, but I just can't see him beating DC here, man. I just really can't. It's very hard for me to imagine. And like I said, other than an early knockout, what other way of victory does Volkan have? Do you really think Volkan could beat DC in a decision? I mean, I would be absolutely shocked to see that happen. Do you think he could submit him? No way. So the only way that I could legitimately see him winning is by an early knockout. And DC has a hell of a chin, man, and we've all seen that. And like I said, so I'm going to go with DC, second round submission, and I'm going to say that he retains his belt. And up next, we have this fucking main event, man, that I've been looking forward to for weeks, man. This is one of the fights that I've been looking forward to the most ever of all time of me watching fights, man. And this is Francis Ngannou against Stipe Miocic, and Stipe's trying to break that record of title defenses here, and Stipe's a guy who's had 5 straight KOs as well. You know, everyone talks about the power of Francis Ngannou, but Stipe's someone that one punch KO'd Fabricio Verdum, just dropped him. He KO'd Alistair Overeem as well. It's nasty ground and pound. Finished Junior Dos Santos with one punch as well. He's not a guy that you want to mess with. Destroyed Andrei Arlovski in that first round. Destroyed Fabio Maldonado in that first round. You know, Fabio is a light heavyweight, but still. And, you know, so he's had a lot of KOs, a lot of finishes. You know, his last 6 wins are all TKO finishes. And he's someone that's really quick on his feet. I think he's going to be the first, you know, Overeem was a guy that's, you know, slick on his feet, has good movement, things like that. But I think Stipe's even more athletic, a little more fluid, a little bit faster. And Overeem fought very odd in that fight. Almost like he fought scared, you know. He was closing the distance almost immediately, trying to throw a very looping overhand and just trying to run out of the way, just trying to catch him, trying to clinch up, you know. He was not fighting even close to the way that he fought previously against guys like Stipe, for instance, where he's moving backwards, trying to time that left hand, being pinpoint, being accurate, you know, using technique. He almost said fuck technique and, you know, said I'm just going to try to do everything I can to get inside on this guy. I have to get inside on this guy because he just was very uncomfortable on the outside. It seemed like he was almost scared. And that's something that I know for a fact that Stipe will not be. I don't think he's going to be someone that's nervous on the outside. You know, I don't think he's going to be someone that's going to be really trying to bull his way in, I think he's going to be calm and composed in there. I think he does a really good job of, you know, dealing with pressure, the way he dealt with pressure in that stadium fight against Verdum, the way he dealt with it in his own backyard in Cleveland in his first title defense. You know, it's just shows that he's extremely calm under the lights. And that's something that you really look forward to. You really like to bet on. You know, he's also going for his title defense record, 3 title defenses in a row at heavyweight. And he also has some pretty solid grappling in his back pocket, man, to go with his boxing. And that's something that we've seen Francis struggle with a little bit, which is a jab. And I'm actually a little bit curious about Francis's chin, man. I watched that Curtis Blades fight again, and he was getting a little bit dinged by those jabs of Curtis Blades, man. Curtis Blades was rocking him a little bit. And, you know, I see all these people saying, you know, like, oh, well, if Francis hits him once, then it's over. That's all you have to think about to cap this fight, blah, blah, blah. But I'm just out there thinking, you know, what if Stipe hits Francis once? I mean, you guys are going to say he's just going to be able to eat all of Stipe's punches? Because that's, you know, ridiculous to me. And, Francis is someone that's extremely athletic, you know, and I think that uppercut could be a big problem for Stipe. Stipe does get hit with uppercuts. And, you know, Stipe is hittable, you know, especially with, I just think that everyone talks about Francis's power, which is there. He has incredible power, don't get me wrong, but what I really am impressed with is his speed, man. The way that he closes the distance, the way that he could, you know, finish those combinations and just land before you get there, before his opponent thinks he's going to get there is just phenomenal. You know, he did that to Andrei Arlovski. The speed in which he finished Overeem was incredible, man. If you haven't seen that knockout, you're probably living like under a fucking rock, like Patrick Starr or something. I don't know. But, you know, Francis is someone that, you know, he KOs people dead. You know, Stipe knocks people out cold. He knocks people the fuck out for sure. But, you know, Francis knocks someone out like a Barry Bonds home run type shit. You know, like when he knocks you out, you're knocked the fuck out. Like you're dead. And that's probably what the intrigue is about this guy. It definitely is what the intrigue is. And pretty flashy, you know, he's starting to talk a little bit of shit. He's wearing some nice suits. The UFC seems really keen on putting him over. You know, he's been at the UFC PI. Apparently, he basically lives there, you know, so Stipe's feeling a little disrespected. I think rightfully so, you know. I think Francis is still an unproven commodity. Still someone, like I said, that his chin has not been tested at all. I think everyone that's fought him, you know, Alistair Overeem, like I said, came in with a weird game plan. I didn't think that he came in like the way that he usually fights. I thought that he looked very scared, very, you know, just didn't want to strike with the guy. And I think that if he did, maybe he would have had more success, you know, but I just don't see Stipe getting punked out pre-fight like that. That will not happen in my opinion. And also, like I said, when he fought against Arlovsky, I mean, that's just not that great of a win for me in 2017 for you to knock out Arlovsky. I just don't see that as a high-level win anymore. And other than that, man, he's fought a lot of, guys that just aren't very high level in the UFC. He had a very good fight with Curtis Blades, in which the second round was a very close round, and then it was stopped because Curtis Blades' eye was swollen shut. But that was actually a very fun fight, and he had a fun fight with Luis Enrique as well, where he was taken down. But other than that, man, he's fought Bojan Mihailovic, who was a 205er. He fought Anthony Hamilton, who's terrible. Andrei Arlovsky, who's, super chinny, super questionable, is on a 5-fight losing streak. And then Alistair Overeem, who's been KO'd more times than anyone in MMA history, probably. And, that's just not the greatest resume. It's just not enough of a resume for me to say that he's going to beat Stipe Miocic, man. I know that it's the trend here. Everyone loves the Predator. Everyone loves Francis Ngannou. And me too, man. If he wins this fight, shit, I'm probably going to be on the bandwagon too. I love watching knockouts. Love watching that big-ass motherfucker just KO people, man. And he's a beast. He's definitely someone that is next-level athlete. But like I said, I just think that his chin is not what everyone thinks it is. And I think he's going to be the one that gets slept. I think he's the one that's going to get knocked out in the first round. And I'm going to go with Stipe by knockout in round 1 to defend his title. And hope you guys like this video. I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to do another reaction video. I'm going to do another recap video after this event, just like the last one. Hope you guys like that video. Give me some feedback on that. Tell me what you think, if I should keep doing those. And, subscribe for more like always. I'm going to keep giving you these good breakdowns. I'm going to keep watching tape, try to give you guys good fights. And once again, we're going to do our parlay of the week like we did last week. And last week we hit our parlay of the week, man, but it was a little bit deflated by by Zach Cummings tripping and falling and hitting his head, man. That was a bummer. But we hit our two parlay, but this one we're going to do another 3-team parlay. And I'm actually going to say Islam Makhachev, Enrique Barzola, and Abdul, Razak, Alhassan as the 3-team parlay. And I think that that's a pretty good one. I think that all 3 of those guys have pretty clear paths to victory. And my most confident pick of the night for this card is Islam Makhachev. So like I said, everyone, I hope you liked the video. Subscribe for more. And good luck.